Let me be absolutely clear about something that most people are dangerously unwilling to hear. You are one ordinary Tuesday away from complete vulnerability. Not a war, not an apocalypse, not some cinematic collapse of civilization. Just a Tuesday. A tanker truck that doesn't show up. A transformer that blows in the wrong neighborhood. A headline that spreads across 15 million phones at 7 a.m. And by noon, the world you depend on every single day has already begun fracturing in ways that take days, sometimes weeks, to repair. The terrifying reality isn't that disasters are getting worse, though many argue they are. The terrifying reality is that the systems holding your daily life together are thinner than you have ever been allowed to believe. Supply chains are not reserves. They are pipelines, constant, pressurized, flowing. They are engineered for steady, predictable consumption. The moment that steadiness breaks, the moment millions of people all reach for the same thing simultaneously, the pipeline chokes, and it chokes fast. What you're about to read is not a list of luxury survival gear. This isn't about bunkers or bug-out bags or some extreme off-grid fantasy. This is about 13 items, nearly all under $20, that the average household is missing right now, today, at this very moment. 13 items that will be completely unavailable the instant enough people realize they need them. The window is open. It will not stay open. And the difference between the people who come out of a disruption with their stability intact and the people who spend 3 days in a panic is almost never resources, intelligence, or income. It's timing. That's it. Just timing. Here is what you are missing, and why it matters more urgently than you are willing to admit. 13. Cash. Here is something that will blindside the unprepared with remarkable speed. Digital payment infrastructure is not a utility. It is a service. Services go down. When the power flickers and the internet goes out, card terminals at grocery stores, pharmacies, and gas stations go dark right alongside them. The money in your bank account doesn't disappear, but your ability to access it does, completely, instantly. Most people carry less than $40 in physical cash at any given time. Some carry none at all. In a world of tap-to-pay and digital wallets, paper money has started to feel almost quaint, unnecessary, old-fashioned. That attitude is going to cost people dearly the next time a regional outage takes down the payment networks for 12, 24, or 48 hours. Cash doesn't require signal. It doesn't require power. It doesn't require a functioning bank server 3 states away. It works in the dark, in the storm, in the chaos, unconditionally. Keep a meaningful amount of small bills at home in a fixed location. Not locked away so securely that you can't access it under pressure, but stored deliberately and maintained consistently. Small denominations matter. Don't expect a stressed cashier managing a line of 50 panicking customers to make change for a $100 bill. This is the item that people dismiss entirely until the exact moment they desperately need it. At that moment, the ATMs are already emptied. The lines are already long. The window has already closed. 12. Fuel. Before we get into anything else, understand this. Fuel is not just one item on this list. It is the foundation every other item on this list is built on. When disruption signals appear, a named storm, a supply chain headline, a public health announcement, a geopolitical tremor that shows up in the news, the very first thing that visibly collapses is fuel access. Not in days, in hours. Think about what actually happens. The fuel itself doesn't vanish. Refineries keep running. Tanker trucks keep rolling. The supply chain technically is still functioning, but millions of individual people make the exact same rational decision simultaneously. I need to fill up, right now. Local gas stations are built to serve steady, distributed daily demand. They are emphatically not built to serve an entire region's population showing up in the same 4-hour window. The result isn't a shortage. It is a gridlock that looks exactly like a shortage and produces all the same consequences. Day 1. Stations are slightly busier, manageable. Day 2. Lines stretch into the road. People show up with extra containers. Tempers flare. Day 3. Out-of-service signs appear, and the image of a gas station that cannot pump gas spreads virally, triggering panic in surrounding areas that haven't even experienced a shortage yet. Your car is not a convenience in modern American life. It is the operating system. Work, medical appointments, school pickups, grocery runs, everything runs through it. When fuel access disappears, your ability to respond to every other problem on this list disappears with it. The fix requires almost no effort. Keep your tank above half, not perpetually full. Just never allow it to drop below the midpoint before you refill. That single habit places you entirely outside the crisis, while everyone else idles in a 2-hour line. The people who aren't panicking at the pump aren't calmer by nature. They're calmer because they made one simple, almost effortless decision weeks ago. 11. A headlamp. Stop picturing a flashlight. A flashlight is a tool designed for a world where two hands aren't necessary. In a real disruption, two hands are always necessary. When the power fails and darkness fills your home, the instinctive response is to grab the flashlight from the junk drawer. That flashlight now permanently occupies one of your hands. Every task you need to perform, finding supplies, preparing food, treating an injury, moving through a darkened house with children or elderly family members, now happens with 50% of your manual capability gone. Slower, more mistakes, more exhaustion, more danger. Candles are worse. They are stationary, dim, unpredictable, and introduce open flame into a household that is already stressed, tired, and potentially dealing with frightened children or vulnerable adults. The number of house fires that follow extended power outages is not a coincidence. A headlamp costs between $15 and $40. It tracks wherever your eyes go. It leaves both hands completely free. A quality LED model runs 8 to 20 hours on a single set of batteries. It eliminates fire risk entirely. This is not glamorous preparation. It is not interesting. It is also the item that makes every other item on this list actually functional after dark. Without it, your supplies exist. You just can't safely access them, use them, or manage them once the sun goes down. Own at least two. Know exactly where they are. Keep the batteries fresh, and rotate them on a schedule. This is the item that almost nobody puts at the top of their list, which is precisely why almost nobody is adequately prepared for the first night of an outage. 10. Backup power. The power has been out for 3 hours. You've been conservative. A few news checks, a handful of texts. Your phone is at 31%. The number stops looking like a statistic. It starts looking like a countdown. By hour 8, you are making decisions you never expected to make. Do you use the remaining charge to call someone? Do you know what's actually happening outside your neighborhood? Can you coordinate anything? Can you reach anyone who needs to reach you? This is the mechanism through which a simple power outage becomes a genuine crisis. Not darkness, not inconvenience, the slow, silent severance from communication, information, and the ability to make informed decisions. When your phone dies, you don't just lose a device, you lose situational awareness. You lose coordination capability. In some scenarios, you lose the ability to call for help. A portable power station or high-capacity power bank addresses this vulnerability directly and completely. A mid-range unit can recharge a smartphone multiple times, maintain a small router, and power LED lighting for an extended period. The investment is real but modest. The protection it provides is comprehensive. Here is where most people fail this category silently and completely. They buy the device, congratulate themselves, and put it in a drawer. 3 months later, it's sitting at 9% charge. It is utterly useless. Uncharged backup power is not preparation. It is a more expensive version of having nothing, because it comes with the false confidence of thinking you're covered when you're not. Charge it, maintain it, and when you use it, be ruthless about priorities. Phone first, internet access second, lighting third. Do not drain it running appliances. Drain it keeping yourself informed and connected. If this information has already shifted something in how you're thinking about your household's readiness, please hit like, drop a comment below, and subscribe. This kind of content only reaches the people who need it most when you help push it out. Now let's keep going, because the next items are the ones almost nobody prepares for. 9. A manual can opener. This is the item that exposes the single most common and most preventable gap in household preparedness, and it will feel almost insultingly obvious once you hear it. Canned food requires a can opener. Electric can openers require electricity. When the power fails, your entire canned food supply becomes a collection of metal cylinders you cannot open. Millions of households have substantial canned goods stored. Beans, soup, vegetables, fish, fruit. It is one of the most instinctive and sensible things people stock. And a meaningful percentage of those same households do not own a functioning manual can opener. They have the resource. They do not have access to the resource. Under stress, those are functionally identical. Improvising with a knife is slow, requires skill most people don't have, and creates a genuine laceration risk. Hammering a can open is neither reliable nor safe. The entire food supply you carefully assembled sits inaccessible while you improvise in the dark. A manual can opener costs under $10. It requires no power, no batteries, no technical knowledge. It is the final step in a preparation chain that stops one step short of complete. Own at minimum 2. They wear out mechanically over time. They're easy to misplace. One in the kitchen, one in your emergency supplies. The cost of closing this gap is negligible. The cost of leaving it open is losing access to every can in your pantry at the exact moment you need them most. 8. Water filtration. Read this carefully, because it directly contradicts something most people believe with complete confidence. Water flowing through your tap is not the same thing as safe water. Those two things can diverge without any visible warning whatsoever. Municipal water treatment is genuinely reliable under normal operating conditions. But normal operating conditions is exactly what a significant disruption destroys. Aging pipe infrastructure, power failures at pumping stations, flooding that compromises treatment facilities, contamination introduced through damage to distribution lines. These are not hypothetical scenarios. They produce boil advisories on a regular basis in cities and towns across the country. And here is the part that should genuinely alarm you. Compromised tap water typically looks completely normal, clear, odorless, visually identical to the water you drink without thought every single day. There is no visible indication that the water coming out of your faucet has become unsafe. The only way to know the system is functioning is to know the system is intact, and during a disruption, that knowledge disappears. Boil advisories require residents to boil all water used for drinking, cooking, and even basic hygiene until the system is verified safe. If your stove is electric and the grid is down, you cannot comply. The advisory is in effect. You cannot meet it. The water is unsafe, and you have no backup. A portable water filter removes that vulnerability entirely. No power, no fuel, no fire required. Gravity-fed filters, pump filters, and filter straws can process tap water or alternative sources, removing bacteria, protozoa, and a significant range of chemical contaminants. A household-appropriate unit costs between $20 and $80. This is not wilderness gear. It is a verified power-independent backup for the one resource your household cannot function without, for even a single day. 7. Medications and a basic first aid kit. The framing most people apply to medical preparedness is entirely wrong, and that wrong framing is exactly why they remain underprepared. They think about catastrophic injuries, major medical events, the kinds of emergencies that require hospitals and ambulances and trained professionals. And because they can't replicate that infrastructure at home, they conclude there's nothing meaningful to prepare. That framing misses the actual risk completely. The real medical threats during a disruption are mundane. A fever developing at 10:30 at night when every pharmacy within range closed 2 hours ago. A child's earache on day 2 of an outage. A cut from routine activity that needs immediate cleaning and dressing. An allergic reaction. A worsening headache with no pain relief available. Under normal conditions, every one of these is an inconvenience. Under disrupted conditions, stores overwhelmed, shelves depleted, movement restricted. The same situations compound with alarming speed. A fever treated within a few hours is one uncomfortable evening. A fever left unaddressed because there's nothing in the house extends across days and affects everyone in the household. The critical supply list isn't long or complicated. Pain relievers, fever reducers, antihistamines, antiseptic, sterile gauze, adhesive bandages in multiple sizes, a thermometer, and a modest buffer supply of any prescription medication your household relies on. One more thing that needs to be said directly. Over-the-counter fever reducers and analgesics are consistently among the first products to evacuate pharmacy shelves when any public health concern gains public attention. This is documented. It is not speculation. It happens faster than people expect, every single time. Prepare this category before any signal of disruption appears. The cost is modest. The protection is immediate and practical, applying not just to emergencies, but to any given Tuesday when someone in your household needs something at the wrong moment. 6. A portable cooking method. Most people who think they've covered food preparedness have actually only covered half the problem. They've thought about what food to have. They have not thought about whether they can turn that food into a meal. Those are two entirely separate problems, and the second one will hit you like a wall the moment the power goes out. The majority of American kitchens are powered entirely by electricity. Electric range, microwave, electric oven. When the grid goes down, every single one of those appliances stops. The pasta in your pantry, the rice, the canned beans, they exist. You cannot make them edible. You have food you cannot use. This is not a theoretical failure mode. It is the most consistently reported experience from people who have lived through extended winter storms, hurricanes, and regional outages. The account that repeats itself again and again is not "we ran out of food," it is "we had food we couldn't prepare." A portable butane or propane camping stove with a supply of fuel canisters solves this completely. It occupies roughly one cabinet shelf. It costs between $20 and $60. It grants you the ability to boil water, heat food, and prepare actual meals with zero dependency on the grid. There is a psychological dimension here that is easy to dismiss and costly to ignore. A warm, cooked meal during a period of household disruption is not a luxury. It is a stabilizing anchor. Research on disaster psychology identifies routine, especially around food, as one of the most significant factors in maintaining household stability during extended events. A hot bowl of something familiar tells every person in your household, on a level that bypasses rational thought, that things are still manageable. 2 non-negotiable safety points. These stoves disappear from shelves almost immediately when significant weather is forecast. If you don't own one before the alert, you likely won't own one when you need it. And combustion stoves must only be used outdoors or in heavily ventilated spaces. Carbon monoxide poisoning during power outages is a documented recurring cause of death. This is not a fine print warning. It is a real and serious risk. We're past the halfway point now, and the next few items are the ones that seem too simple to matter, right up until the moment they completely stop you. If this is landing for you, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe so you see everything we put out. The algorithm only works if you help it. Now, don't let the simplicity of what's coming fool you. 5. Lighters and matches. Picture it. The camping stove is out. The fuel canister is attached and ready. The food is waiting, and there is absolutely nothing in the house capable of producing a flame. This is not a rare scenario. This is one of the most common single-point failures in otherwise well-prepared households. Ignition sources feel permanent. They feel like something that's always just there. A lighter in the kitchen drawer, a book of matches in a cabinet somewhere. But lighters run out of fluid silently, without warning. Matches sit in drawers for 2 or 3 years while their strike tips quietly degrade into uselessness. The one working lighter gets borrowed and not returned. And in the moment you reach for fire and find nothing, every preparation that depends on heat, cooking, sterilizing, warming, stops entirely. The solution is structural, not reactive. Keep multiple ignition sources in fixed, deliberate locations. One near the stove, one in your emergency supplies, one stored separately from both as a final backup. Rotate them before they run dry. Include waterproof matches, because standard matches fail in wet conditions, and power outages correlate strongly with exactly the kind of weather that creates wet conditions. Note that some butane lighters lose reliable ignition performance in cold temperatures. In northern climates where winter outages are a significant risk, this matters. Test your equipment before you need it. The broader principle this item represents applies across your entire preparation. There is a category of tools so assumed to be present that they are never actively maintained. That silent, unverified assumption is where gaps open, invisibly, completely, until the moment they reveal themselves at the worst possible time. 4. Toilet paper and hygiene essentials. If you were paying attention in early 2020, you watched something remarkable and deeply instructive happen to toilet paper. And if your takeaway was that was an overreaction, you missed the actual lesson entirely. The lesson was not about toilet paper. The lesson was about how fast a behavioral cascade can strip a category of product from retail systems that were never designed to absorb synchronized demand. Manufacturing was running normally. Distribution was functioning. Trucks were moving. The supply chain was technically intact. The product simply ceased to exist on shelves because millions of households made the same decision in the same compressed window. The replenishment cycle that works perfectly under steady daily consumption cannot keep pace with a synchronized national stockpile event. The shelf empties. The restock takes days. And the people who waited until they felt the urgency are now standing in front of empty shelves, having provided zero value to their households by waiting. Toilet paper specifically isn't dangerous to lack, but the absence of basic hygiene products across consecutive days creates real and compounding discomfort, disrupts household routine, and introduces a morale strain that is completely and trivially avoidable. When people feel physically uncomfortable and unable to maintain basic dignity, their capacity to manage everything else in a disruption degrades. Add to this list soap, toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, and any personal care items your household uses daily. All of them belong to the same behavioral category, assumed to always be available, and therefore never maintained in any deliberate supply. Buy an extra supply now, on a normal shopping day, before any disruption signal appears. That's the complete strategy. 3. Sale tea and basic seasonings. This is the item most likely to get skipped. It's also the item that reveals something almost no preparedness guide is willing to address honestly. Surviving a disruption physically is not the only challenge. Sustaining the psychological capacity to function through it is equally critical, and it erodes through completely different mechanisms. Day 1 of an extended disruption. The food is adequate. People manage. Day 2, the food is flat and texturally monotonous, but people eat without much complaint. By day 3 or 4, something measurable has shifted. Appetite begins to weaken. Meals stop feeling like meals. People eat less than the situation demands without consciously deciding to reduce intake. Energy follows. Cognitive performance follows. Mood follows. This is not a character flaw. It is a documented pattern in extended disruption scenarios. Appetite regulation depends heavily on sensory variety, flavor, aroma, the fundamental experience of food that tastes like something. Remove those consistently, and the appetite signal degrades in ways that have genuine downstream consequences on physical and cognitive performance. Salt is the absolute baseline. Without it, food doesn't merely taste bland. It tastes wrong in a deep, almost biological way that progressively undermines the willingness to eat. Even staples like rice or pasta become genuinely difficult to consume day after day without it. And beyond flavor, salt has real preservation utility. It inhibits bacterial growth and extends the functional life of food when refrigeration is unavailable. Basic dried seasonings, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, dried herbs, restore enough sensory variety to keep appetite stable across consecutive days in a way that unseasoned foods simply cannot replicate. Cheap, lightweight, shelf-stable, almost zero storage footprint, among the first items to disappear in a disruption. Not because anyone treats them as critical, but because everyone realizes their necessity at the same moment. Buy them before that moment. The cost is nearly nothing. The return is the psychological sustainability of your entire food supply. 2. Batteries. Your headlamp is ready. Your emergency radio is on the shelf, the most reliable source of official information when the grid is down. Your thermometer is in the first aid kit, and none of them work. Batteries have a failure mode unlike almost anything else on this list. They give no warning. A device can appear fully functional right up until the precise moment it stops working entirely. You will not discover that your batteries are dead during a normal afternoon. You will discover it in the dark, during a disruption, at the exact moment the device matters most. That is when the failure reveals itself, completely, immediately, and with zero opportunity to address it. Under normal conditions, battery replacement happens whenever you think of it. It feels like something that can always be handled eventually, until eventually becomes the moment you're standing in a powerless house, turning on a flashlight that produces nothing. Batteries are consistently among the first items cleared from store shelves when any disruption begins. The demand spike is simultaneous and comes from every direction. Flashlights, radios, medical monitors, children's devices being used to occupy terrified kids, backup clocks, and a dozen other sources all pulling from the same limited retail stock at the same moment. The window between shelves are stocked and shelves are empty in this category is extremely short. Stock a dedicated supply now. Rotate it. Batteries lose charge and storage over time and cannot be trusted after years sitting unused. Check the devices in your home that handle safety or communication functions. Confirm the batteries in them are current. Rechargeable batteries are excellent for daily use. For emergency purposes specifically, maintain a separate supply of fresh disposables that require no grid access to charge. The investment is minimal. The failure mode, when it hits without preparation, is immediate, total, and entirely preventable. We're at the final item, and if you've made it this far, you already understand something that most people won't recognize until it's too late. Please take a second to like this, leave a comment telling me which item surprised you most, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. It genuinely helps this reach the people who need to hear it. 1. Fuel Beetle Hell. Why it closed the list. Fuel opened this list at number 12. It closes the list at number 1. That is not an accident, and it is not a formatting choice. It is the acknowledgement of a truth that the entire list has been building toward. Fuel is not just one item. It is the variable that determines whether every other item is accessible to you at all. Without fuel, you cannot reach the pharmacy when a prescription runs out. You cannot get to the store for replacement batteries or a water filter. You cannot transport someone who is injured or ill. You cannot leave a situation that deteriorates to the point where staying is no longer safe. You cannot respond to any of the 12 items above in any active, practical way. A half-empty tank on the wrong day doesn't slow you down. It eliminates your options, all of them, simultaneously. In a situation where options are already limited and every decision carries real weight, that is the actual stakes of this category. Not the price per gallon, not the inconvenience of the line. The fact that the freedom to respond to every other problem, every other item on this list, runs entirely through the assumption that you can move. When that assumption breaks, it takes everything built on top of it down with it. The window is open right now. Every single item on this list is available today. Full stock, normal prices, no lines, no competition, no one else at the shelf reaching for the same thing. That is not the permanent condition. It is the current condition. The moment a threshold of public concern is crossed, a storm named, a headline shared, a social media post about empty shelves, millions of people make the same decision in the same window, and the supply chains built to serve steady, distributed daily demand buckle under synchronized pressure. The shelves clear. The window closes. The people who are not in that panic, who are not standing in that line, who are not refreshing their phones trying to figure out where to find what they need, they are not more resourceful than you. They are not wealthier or better connected or operating on better information. They simply moved earlier. Not dramatically earlier, just before the moment when everyone else moved at once. 13 items, most under $20, every one of them available right now, at this very moment, requiring no special expertise and no significant investment of money or time. The only question, the only one that actually matters, is whether you act before the crowd does, or whether you become part of the crowd. Which of these 13 do you already have? Which one surprised you most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.